In this second video, we will cover these portions of your app. What comes next is a good tip for development. Simply add a text control for the notes on the screen, kind of like a checklist. Set the fill property to black and the font color to yellow. In the formula bar, inside the double quotes, add your notes. Alt-7 on your keyboard creates a circle bullet. Now we're ready. Let's set up the filter buttons for the questions your users will see. Why do we do this? Have you ever had to fill out an online form with a lot of questions and you had to scroll and scroll to get to the end? This keeps your form well organized and reduces excessive scroll for your users. Here is an example of what we're going to build. On a second testing screen, I built this, a radio control that filters the buttons in our gallery. What happens is a selection filters the buttons you see here. Ultimately, those buttons will display the questions for the form. So let's build it. Go to your testing screen where you created the note. Take a look at your original Word document form. That's where the wording of the button labels come from. Like before, insert a horizontal gallery. Move it down, then expand it a bit. Let's color its borders so it's easier to see the whole gallery. We won't connect it to a data source, but like before in the items property, we'll create an array with values. The question numbers, AU01, AU02, etc. We only need one label, so delete the second and the image. Then, like before, correct the error. Adjust the template height. If you notice that the wording in a text control disappears when the template is not as wide, its size is related to the size of the template. By default, it adjusts to the width of the template. Easy fix. We'll replace that control with a button as we did before. Insert, choose button. Then set the text of the button to this item.value. Delete the text label. Adjust the template's width and center your button. Let's insert a second button inside the template. This one will have no text and it will be a transparent fill. There are two other fill properties to change to transparent: hover fill and pressed fill. This second button will be positioned on top of the first button, so let's name it Button Front. Then name the second Button Back. We want the X and Y position of button front to always be the same as button back. So we set that in the formula bar for both the X and Y properties. Button back dot capital X. Button back dot capital Y. Then do the same for the width and height. Button back dot width. Button back dot height. Since button front is on top, we set the on select properties of this button, not button back. We are going to set a variable. var question. That equals this item's value. Click outside of the gallery and insert a text label. Set the text to equal our variable, var question. Let's test it. Alt plus click the button and we'll see the variable displayed and changing in the text label. Perfect! It only exists for testing purposes, so let's add a border to make it easy to see, then move it out of the way. Outside of the gallery, let's add the radio control. For the array in the items property, we want to display the question categories, AUO, SLO, and feedback. To change the layout direction of the options, choose Layout, then type in Horizontal. Give it no border. Test it out and you should be able to pick one of the items. Now that we have our controls, let's take a look at the interaction we need. If the value in our radio equals a certain value, we want to only see certain values on our button. Otherwise, display blank. 2 double quotes at the end. You can pause it here and type what you see into your items property of your gallery with the buttons, or just follow along. For me, I will insert the entire formula in between a multi-line comment. / asterisk, a few enters down, asterisk, / then paste in the formula. In your items property at the beginning of the array, enter if, open parenthesis. Going back for a second, good practice is to name your controls. So let's name the radio control, then our gallery. If radio question type dot value equals double quote AUOS double quote. What you put in the quotes needs to be exactly what your values are in the radio. So whether you have AUO or AUOS, they must be exactly the same. Go to the end of your gallery's array, comma. Let's enter the second condition. What you want the button's text to display. Into the third condition. What you want the button's text to display. Close parenthesis. If you want, before the close parenthesis, you can put comma, then 2 double quotes for blank as default, but you don't have to. Let's test it. We no longer need to see the border on the gallery. Set the default for the radio control to the first item in your radio. So far, so good? Let's move on to setting the colors of the button back using the variable we created. Click on button back, then choose its fill property. Pause and enter the exact formula you see here. We will copy half of it and add it to the text color property. Go to the beginning of the color formula, the red, green, blue color, and paste in the formula you copied. After value, comma, enter the color you want the button text to be when the variable matches that item's value. Go to the end of your formula and add a close parenthesis. Let's see the color of the selected item in the radio. Choose the radio control. Find the radio border color property and change the color. If you need help with color theories, a good site to visit is W3 Schools. Choose whichever colors you like. Do the same for the radio select fill property. Remember, IntelliSense helps you by showing different options to pick from. Personally, I like a light border color, so I'll change that to silver. With all that taken care of and thoroughly tested, let's highlight, then copy and paste these new controls to the new screen. Remove any controls we don't need, like this back button, then save our progress. A good rule of thumb is to go back to your notes and remove what you've built. Then add what needs to be built next. Collections, and that is what we'll cover in the next video. If you have any questions, please contact me. Stay awesome, have a blessed day, see you in the next one, and remember, be epic.